Let's talk about this black hat situation. Not the one you have on
I
today.
got one on.
Yeah, not the one you have on today. Was there a time where you just said, screw it, I'm gonna just take this on, I don't care, we need a villain. And when I came to Rodney and SHR, it was like, hey, we don't need any of this anymore, because I don't think he wanted to answer the questions. I think, I think the personality of your crew chief might be a little different. But tell me when this black hat theory started, and you're like, I'm just going to wear it, I'm going to own it.
I think, it started kind of around the Chastain time, right? And then it really took off after I did or did not get into Kyle Larson at Pocono for a race win. I think that you get into enough incidences with people, and people will start to say, well, there's one common denominator, and I acknowledge that, right? I think if I had to sit down and hash it out with everyone I've had issues with, that the line would be really long here. So, but I just feel like I've reached the point in my career where I'm comfortable in my own skin. My sponsors let me be myself. That's a really important one. Joe lets me be myself. I mean, he's had to deal with some very tough characters in his lifetime, but I feel like I definitely don't let it compromise my race team. And there's something about it that I feed off of. There's the trash talking back and forth. It's the who are you to talk? You've never done this. You're not good enough for that. Oh, really? I'll show you. Then I'll go out and win the next race. So there's something about it inside that self-motivates when I get into these incidences that just gets the best out of me on the racetrack.
Yeah, and for anybody who hasn't done that, there's almost a sense of that eggs you on to do it again. And I think some of that, you were telling me before the show that sometimes you'll go home because you can't sleep and you'll just do your podcast in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, I'm like, my God, how do you not shut your brain off and you go on and start talking? So you've taken that black hat and you've also owned it with your podcast and the things that you say and do. And has there been any of those moments where you've been like, maybe I should sleep on this podcast until the next day to just make sure I don't say what I said?
There's been moments for sure. Absolutely.
Did some of those come at midnight when you were filming when we were filming the episode?
Sometimes, yeah. I usually do it after the race, probably 20-30% of the time, as long as I get home at a reasonable time on Sunday. But yeah, I think that, of course, if I have more time to sleep on it, I'll have more facts. I'll calm down from whatever heightened emotion I might have. But that's no fun. Yeah. so I might as well just feed into the excitement or the frenzy that's going on right in the moment and give my immediate knee-jerk reaction that's probably wrong. So I always say my show is an opinion-based show. It is not factual by any means, but it's from how I see things from my lens.
Well, it's very entertaining. And I think the other thing that was really entertaining for myself and the fans was the Netflix series, and you opened up to everything. Was that when you were asked to do that, were you like, hey, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna open it up, or was it them trying to get you to open up? Because we saw every aspect of your life, that circle of life that you talked about, family, Joe Gibbs, 2311, good times, bad times, whatever it was, we saw it in there. Was that your choice?
It was. A lot of it came from initial meetings I had with NASCAR and Netflix. I understood how big of a deal this was for our sport. And so I consider it an obligation to give back to the sport. Now I'm doing it in several different ways, whether it be through content with the podcast or owning a race team. I've invested back into the sport heavily. And so I want to see it succeed. And so my rule of thumb for Netflix when they decided to follow me is that the answer is always yes until I say no. So they followed as long as they wanted to. And I'm actually, although it was largely, kind of in my world, there was tons of things that never even made it on camera that they followed us through. And so I thought they portrayed me accurately. I thought the other drivers who I saw thought, I thought that they were portrayed how I would see them as well. So I thought they did a really good job of kind of entertaining our current race fan, along with educating people about how NASCAR works. And so I just wanted to be a big part of it, to give an insider's perspective of someone that drives, that owns a team, about what this sport is about, and hopefully, it ended up a net positive for our sport and myself.
Who's the one guy out there when you watch the show or look around and you're like, would you just open up and just do what you did that would be compelling to watch?
I think there's a lot of really good personalities.
Oh, you got to pick one.
I know.
Who's the one? Who's the one that you just wish that would open up? I would pick Chase Elliott.
I would. Chase Elliott is a very important person in our sport. I think he knows it, but I don't think he understands how big his influence is on our sport.
Yeah.
I think that, when I hear him speak on Dale Jr.'s podcast about, listen, I just want to be the best race car driver I can be. That is understandable, and that is someone that is focused on their career and doing the best they can for their team.
But there's a show to it. There's a sense of entertainment that has to go with this for us have these personalities.
There is, and on top of that, there's also, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, there's also somewhat of an obligation to help grow the sport. Mm-hmm. Now, the sport has to do its own due diligence on, promoting it. That's a whole nother subject. But the drivers themselves have to be accessible to get to understand the personalities, because we love watching sports because of the superstars. They can do things that we cannot do. I love watching the NBA because they can do athletic things that I never could dream of, right? That's what interests me, right? We want to show people how great Chase Elliott is at his craft, but you got to get a little bit of the insight of what makes him great to really, for people to know it and understand it.
Yeah.
Hey race fans, thanks for watching our video. For all NASCAR on Fox News content and the best clips from Fox Sports, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel.